LeDavid Mizmor, LaDonai ha'aretz umloa, Tevel v'yoshveva, ki hu al yamim yesada, ve'al nahorot yichoneneha. Mi ya'aleh bahar Adonai, umi yakum bimkom kadsho, neki chapayim uvar levav asher lo nasa lashav nafshi v'lo nishba lemirma. The earth is the Lord's, with all of its fullness. The world is the Lord's, with all of its inhabitants. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in the holy place? She who has clean hands and a pure heart. She will receive a blessing from the Lord and a just reward from the God of deliverance. Kol omer kra va'amar ma'ikra, kol habasar chatzir, v'chol chasto katzitz hasadeh, yavesh chatzir navel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo. Achein chatzir ha'am. Yavesh chatzir navel tzitz u'devar Eloheinu yakum le'olam. A voice says, cry out. But I ask, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass, and all of its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, and the flower fades when a wind from God blows upon it. Surely, therefore, people are like grass. The grass withers, and the flower fades. But the word of God endures forever. Gail always had a presence, a strong and a real presence. You know, at the synagogue, we have a job called a greeter. Gail was going to take her turn this month to be a greeter, because we want our greeters to set a certain tone and to give off a certain vibe when they welcome people, and Gail did just that, because she could be very welcoming and very sensitive. But when need be, she could be very firm and strong, all at the same time. You might ask, how can someone be welcoming and sensitive on the one hand and be strong and firm at the same time? Mert, you said you asked her to marry you. And she said, yes, absolutely. That's being welcoming and sensitive. Then you asked her to go on your honeymoon with you to France. And she said, no, she doesn't know you well enough to travel to France. I still am thinking about that. That's what you call welcoming but firm. As a mom, you knew, the three of you knew, that she wanted you to show up. Those are your words, to show up in this world in a certain way. She wanted you to plant your feet in the ground and stand for something, and be a leader for something, be a leader for good, and improve the community. Be a part of the solution, so to speak, not a part of the problem. And you know what? When someone is encouraging you and prodding you to be a leader for good, it means they believe in you, or they wouldn't be telling you. And your mom certainly believed in you. She had unshakable pride in her kids, a fierce pride. You cross her kids, you were going to have a problem with Gail. In fact, in addition to being a mom, I've decided Gail could have been a great football coach. I mean, I know baseball was more her thing, but she would be able, like a locker room speech, she'd have these high expectations. She would state them. She would challenge you to meet them. And she could talk tough, but on the other hand, you three always knew she had your back. She always had your back. She believed in loyalty to you. She was loyal to her friends as well. Gail had hopes for the world and for the way people should treat each other. And she wanted you to stand up for those less fortunate. And she modeled this. She could speak to anyone and interact with anybody of all races and economic classes, social classes. She treated everyone the same way. Mark, you said that you use your mom to this day in your work. You try to use her lens of seeing the world and trying to create a better and more just world in what you do. Gail didn't always get that kind of altruism and didn't get perfection from people. Who does? She had to find a way to deal with that. And with all those aspirations and hopes for the world, she also needed to make her own personal dreams come true. And she did that by marrying you. Meeting and marrying you. You saw her one day with her friends, having a bite to eat. You asked her out, and a couple was born. And not just any couple, a very handsome couple. I'll tell you, whether back then or in recent years, this is like a GQ couple. They could have their cover on the magazines, you know. Sexiest couple alive, you know. I mean, maybe it was your southern drawl. Or maybe it was your hair. She fell in love with you. You thought she looked like Elizabeth Taylor. I have no doubt she did. And thank God you didn't marry Elizabeth Taylor. You did much, much better with Gail. You know, we as a community always talk about wanting to build and to create a better world. We keep working at it. And when two people get married, they're trying to create and build their own world, and that's exactly what you two did. The world you created is everything that your kids experienced. That was their reality, and you supported each other and trusted each other in that. She became a true helpmate to you, not only at home, but she became a very important advisor in your work. She was practical. She gave you good advice. She was certainly your most enthusiastic promoter and marketer. She had a business card on hand. She believed in you, and she treasured you, and you her. Jeff, you said your mom truly appreciated the work of a physician. She respected what your dad did every day, and that was very important support that she was able to give him. Mert, you and Gail loved to dance, and she was a great dancer. You loved going to Severance Hall. For music, she volunteered with Belfair and at South Point Hospital for 25 years. She was involved with the Diabetes Association. And you two enjoyed a wonderful, wonderful social life with some very dear friends. Other couples who you knew well enough, that you socialized with and you traveled with when she felt she was comfortable traveling with you. She was a valuable advisor to you when you worked as a team and you two did create a world. And it worked for your family, for your kids, a great family atmosphere where you loved your kids, you supported their pursuits, and anything she could do for the three of you, she would. And you knew that she loved you. It was always about family. It was always about extended family. Gail was raised in a traditional 1950s upbringing. Barbara, we want to offer you our condolences on the loss of your sister. You two shared childhood together. I know later as mothers, you two enjoyed, as peers, raising kids together and sharing the conversations of motherhood. Andrew, I know your mother never missed one of your games. It was always about family. And then when she was blessed with grandkids, she raved about them. She thought all of you were the greatest. And I could feel the closeness as you spoke about your grandmother. You felt the love. You always felt the love. You felt the welcoming. You felt the embracing. You also felt she tried to feed you at every opportunity. You know, a person's life is not really like a snapshot, although we sometimes use that term, snapshot. Snapshot is one moment. It's one dimension of a person, one mood, one tone, one aspect. But life's certainly not a snapshot. Lives are movies. They're chapters. They're volumes, one scene leading into the next. And in Gail's life, there were layers and depth and complexity and joys and sadness and birth and loss. I don't know who it was who coined the phrase that half of life is just showing up, but Gail did much more than just show up. She had that presence. She set a tone. She gave you the strength that she had and the love that she had. She lived with a good name, and she died with a good name. I want to call on Mark. I'm going to say a few words.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let me see if I can get through this. First, she would definitely not want this fuss. Mom was not someone who had a lot of words. She was actually laconic. But you really, as the rabbi said, you really felt her presence. And she would send me and my brothers and I think everybody around her messages all the time. You just didn't really know it. She was kind of very cunning about it. And, she would look at you a certain way or, then you'd really you'd want to do something differently. But she was very, very warm, but with few words. She was very honest, but again, with few words. If she didn't like something, you knew it. She just felt it. And, like it or not, she wasn't perfect, but she was human. She was very human. And you and I would pick up on these messages, and it shaped me. It shaped my sense of justice and fairness and agency. She was wise, but not verbose. She might suggest something. It would be a one-liner. She said to me when they were making a film in Columbus, Ohio, when I was a student there, and I was about to take a spring break trip with my friends, and she knew about this film being made there, and she knew that I was interested in pursuing this dream, and she was on the phone with me, and she just mentioned it and said, you might want to go talk to that movie producer on that set. And I said, well, I've got this spring break trip coming. She said, well, okay. I did, and it changed the course of my life. It was always her approval with just a look or a touch. She was very, very observant. I remember when she met my beautiful and amazing wife, Jen, you could just tell how much she loved her, just by the way she kind of looked at her, and she would touch her face, and you just knew she approved. And she practiced what she preached, my mother, as one would say, and you'd pick up on those messages. So now I feel, of course, a void of her force, of her presence, and already this week it's been an incredible struggle, obviously, and to make sense of a life, her life, my life. And then last night, after we'd finished a very warm dinner at my brother Andrew's with family, and we came home and we were getting ready to try and go to sleep. We bathed my 3-year-old son, Oliver, put his PJs on, and then he said to me, I want to talk to Grandpa. I said, no, Grandpa is tired and Grandpa needs to go to sleep. And I think I probably brushed him off. And he fussed a bit, and Jen kind of took over the bedtime duties, and as she does so often. And I went downstairs to try to write some thoughts down, and Jeff was already downstairs also trying to write some thoughts down. We were sharing stories together, and then Jen came downstairs about a few moments later and said, you need to see this. So I walked upstairs, and I peeked my head into my parents' room. And Oliver and my father were sleeping soundly in each other's arms. And I realized my mother is still sending me messages. And the message made it all the way to my 3-year-old boy already. And it's a message my mother's been sending me all my life. Comfort each other, care for each other, love each other. I've been seeing it all week with my nieces and nephews, my brother, my cousins, my aunt, and all her friends. My mother was a strong, strong believer in faith and love and hopefulness. And she was telling me that that's how you, as the rabbi said, show up in the world. Kind, caring, generous, and lovingly. That's the message my mother has passed down to me. And I hope I continue to pass that message down, because that is my mother's legacy. And it's comforting to know that these messages just keep coming, because they are a lifetime of messages, because she just believed in loving.
I won't quite be as verbose as my brother. What does it feel like to lose your mom? It's a very difficult feeling to describe. I guess I would describe it as a feeling of complete emptiness and a void that can never be filled. How do you put into words when you lose the person that brought you into this world? You lose your protector, your shield, your confidant, your number one fan, the voice that has been there since the day you were born. Your mom is your shelter on a rainy day. She worries about you when you're a child and continues to worry into your adulthood. My mom was selfless. She always put the needs and well-being of her children and her grandchildren ahead of her own needs. That's the ultimate definition of a mother. One of my mom's favorite songs that she would sing to my daughter, Sammy, was the song A Bushel and a Peck. Well, Mom, I love you a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck. Mom, I miss you dearly, and I love you forever.
It's hard to believe that I've been in Gail's daughter-in-law for almost 25 years. She welcomed me with open arms into her family, as I was the first girl to enter the Lynn clan. I've enjoyed so many amazing times with Gail. We've had 25 years of holidays, birthdays, road trips to DC, sporting events, games of charades, the birth of my children, and even a few naps together. But I guess you could say that there's just never enough time with the ones that we love. And this is a shock for all of us. She left us suddenly and way too soon. And we didn't get a chance to say goodbye. But I feel that if Gail were here, she would say goodbye, and she would say the following. To my darling Mert, I love you. You are the love of my life, and you have made all my dreams come true. Thank you for being my husband and my best friend for over 50 beautiful years. I know I've left you too soon, but you have so much more life to live. So please be strong and live and be happy. I promise I'll be waiting for you, and we will be together again one day. To my boys, Mark, Jeffrey, and Andrew, my 3 handsome boys. I have enjoyed and relished in watching each of you grow into amazing men. My greatest pleasure in life was being your mother. I have never been more prouder of anything and any other accomplishment in my entire life than being your mother. She loved you, Mark. She loved you, Jeff. And she loved you, Andy. To my sister, Barbara, we have shared a lifetime. And through it all, I love you, Barb. I've always loved you. I'll never stop loving you. Forever the Rossman sisters. And lastly, to my grandchildren, my little Mazicles. Jacob and Ashley, Jessica, Sammy, and Oliver. My special, precious grandchildren Gail had loved and cherished every minute of her time with all of you. From every soccer game, to go and watch Jake, to the Stagecrafters plays for Ashley, to my Fridays with Jessica for 5 years, and to the wonderful visits with Sammy and Oliver. When my twins were first born, Gail gave me a prayer. It's called the Prayer for the Children. So for those of us she left behind, I'd like to share this prayer. May you sleep with peace in your heart. May you wake with new dreams to chart. May you find contentment with things that meant to be. And may you turn from anger and dishonesty. May you have the courage during troubled times. And may you give yourself when others cry. May you be honest with your sisters and brothers. And may you believe in the power greater than others. May you follow your dreams, keeping hope in your mind. And may you show compassion to the less fortunate you find. May you fail so you might appreciate success. And may you achieve so failure you will never caress. May you value learning throughout your life. And may you combat ignorance, poverty, and strife. May you appreciate all the lessons that you will learn. May you find prejudice and discrimination and fight it. May you reach for the stars every day, and may you experience love and happiness along the way. Gail will always be with us. Maybe not physically anymore, but she will be in our hearts. And our love and memories of her will never fade. And as Jeff said, I will always remember Gail singing "A Bushel and a Peck," and a love around, and a hug around the neck. We love you, Gail. We love you and we'll miss you.
We want to rise for the memorial prayer. Gail's niece, Rabbi Diana Lynn, will recite the El Malei Rachamim.
Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Gail Judith Lynn, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamramim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashkina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim Kezohar Harakira Mazkirim, Et Nishmat Gitol Bat Shlomo Shehalacha Leholamo, Ba'al Harachamim יסתירה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו. ותנוח בשלום המשכבה, ונאמר אמן.
Let's be seated, everyone. The family will be receiving friends for the Shiva visitation beginning today following services. Today, Friday, following services until 4 p.m. Tomorrow night, Saturday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. The address for Shiva is at the family residence in Pepper Pike, 28243 South Woodland Road. Again, 28243 South Woodland Road in Pepper Pike, beginning today, continuing tomorrow and Sunday at the hours I just mentioned. We're going to pause in the service momentarily to allow us time to arrange the processional, where we'll continue the service with the burial. Please remain in your seats, but the pallbearers should now come forward. We want to offer our condolences to the family, to Merton, Mark and Jennifer, Jeffrey, Andrew and Lori, Barbara, and grandchildren Jacob, Ashley and Jessica, Samantha and Oliver.